Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and for today's video I wanted to play around some more with my Pinkfresh Studios liquid watercolors. So I have some Canson MONTVAL watercolor paper here. I don't think I've ever used the MONTVAL before. Usually I reach for my Canson XL watercolor paper. I've heard good things about this MONTVAL, so I thought I would play with it. I don't really have any thoughts to add other than it's nice watercolor paper. Yeah, it's an option. With only using it this one time so far, I can't really say like, oh, it's so much better than this, or it compares to this, or whatever. So I cut down 2 pieces of it. I'd used one to do some little swatches. You can kind of see those in the lower left. I showed those in a recent Instagram live video and a little picture. And I cut down the remaining sheet, and there was enough to have 2 pieces. I was only going to do 1 background, but 2 pieces, so why not do 2 backgrounds at the same time? And they ended up being, they were 4.5 by about 5 3/4, which gave me some little extra, space to tape these to my hardboard, which I use painter's tape to just tape them to a hardboard. And then I'm just dropping the colors I want to use here onto my glass mat. Any non-porous surface would work, ceramic plate, plastic packaging, I've used that before. Anything would work really, but since my glass mat's on my work surface, that's what I'm going to use. So I wanted to do a, at first it was going to be just an ombre background. And I was going to do like, pinks, reds, yellows on the one, blues, greens, purples on the other. And then I was like, I wonder if I can fit all the colors onto one and do like a rainbow background. So that's what I did. And I did it very vibrant, especially this first one, very, very vibrant. These colors are extremely vibrant, which I think most liquid watercolors are very vibrant. That's kind of the point of them. Another thing a lot of people have been asking me is how do these compare to other brands of liquid watercolors, the PH, Martins, etc., etc. I can't compare. Honestly, the only other brand I have is the PH Martins. I have 1 set of those, and I honestly haven't used them just for so many reasons. So I honestly can't compare. I can't say which is better or different or if they're the same or anything. There's several sets now and several different companies coming out with liquid watercolors. I'm sure they're all great. It's up to personal preference. I know people that know me know that I usually like to have it all. I have to have all the colors, all the styles, everything. I'm still tempted. Down the road, I probably will get some other brands. I know Hero Arts has a set of liquid watercolors now. Avery came out with a set of liquid watercolors, etc. So I think they're all great, I'm sure. I've never heard anything bad about any of them. I've got this set though, and right now I'm playing and having fun. So my first one was kind of a streaky mess, but I still went with it. My second background, I tried to do it a little bit looser. I've said before, I have a little bit of OCD. It's hard for me sometimes to just let things take their course. That's where I struggle with watercolor, is letting it do its thing. I like to control it more. But with the second one, I let the background be a little bit wetter. You notice the one on the left, by the time I got to the bottom, I had actually noticed the paper was dry by the time I got to that, and that's where some of the streaking started to happen. So I realized I needed to move a little bit quicker. It's something that you need to experiment with. I was happy with these backgrounds. They're fine, but it's something I'm definitely going to have to experiment more with. It's funny how you would think that, just applying colors and stripes would be probably the easiest thing, and it's actually a lot more difficult to get things to go together smoothly, to get them on in time, etc., than you would think. So it's something I will experiment with more to get the type of look that I want to get in my head. But I was still happy with them because they're just fun and bright and cheerful, and I love the rainbow colors. So after they're completely dry, you want to make sure they are bone dry before you peel off that painter's tape, and I peel it right off, almost folding it in on itself. You want to make sure it's dry so that it doesn't tear anything. So after I had peeled all that off, I trimmed both these down. I just trimmed off the borders, so now they are both 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And my whole time I was planning on doing these backgrounds, I wanted to use the newer Mama Elephant Creativity is Contagious stamp set. I love this set. I love the Mama Elephant sets with these great, big, huge phrases that take up like the whole, span of your card. They're just fun. And because for me, I am not good at handwriting at all, let alone calligraphy. It's a thing on my list that I would like to practice. and learn to do, but it's something that I can't even write a message with nice handwriting. So I very much appreciate those that can, and I fake it with all of these stamps. So that's what I did. So I put these in my stamp platform. I was very liberal with my anti-static powder tool. And then I'm stamping this huge stamp with Ink on 3's Juicy Ink. And I was double stamping them. I did this on both just because there's that little bit of texture of the watercolor paper. It's a very large stamp. I want to make sure I get this stamped as perfectly as possible. And then I coated it with Hero Art's white embossing powder. And I'm going to melt that with my heat tool. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to the second panel. This is kind of just a mini mass production here, just kind of copying myself with both cards to get kind of 2 out of 1 sitting. So after everything was melted with my heat tool, I did the same thing with the second one. And then I just took my white gel pen and lightly dabbed it in a few areas. It was more in the centers where I missed a little bit here and there because, again, it was the textured cardstock or watercolor paper. So using the gel pen kind of filled that in. It makes everything look a little more seamless. You know, I didn't go over the entire sentiment. One, it wasn't necessary. 2, there was just a few where the gaps were a little bit larger. So just, you know, using the little white gel pen trick helps to kind of clean that up a bit. So after I did that, I coated the back of both of these panels with score tape. I have this great big wide roll that I pull out on occasion. And it was perfect for these because they weren't too warped, but they warped a bit with all that heat embossing. So by coating the backs of them with the adhesive, this just made sure that they would adhere really, really well to my card bases, which are heavyweight white cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored at 5 1/2. So they're A2 cards. So these panels completely cover the front of these cards. So I just peeled off the backing and then lined these up on my surface there so that everything was straight. And then squish those together because once those are adhered, they're not moving. That score tape doesn't give at all. Like when it is down, you're done. There's no pulling it up. You'll tear everything. So for certain applications like this, it's great. It is a really good adhesive, but just there's no going back once it's adhered. So after I had my card fronts adhered for the inside of the card, I pulled out one of the sentiments from the Creativity is Contagious set, and it's the Crafty Friends Are My Kind of Friends sentiment. And I stamped it on the inside of both cards with some blackout ink. And then there's these little kind of splatter type stamps in the set as well. And I just put those on acrylic blocks, and I stamped those all around the sentiment on the inside with a rainbow of Distress Oxide inks. I kind of wanted to pull in that color that I used on the outside, kind of mimic that on the inside. So I just went around and stamped those little splatters all around each of the sentiments with all of these oxide inks in also rainbow order. Because like I said, I've got that little bit of just a nudge sometimes, and I can't not do that. So stamped all those, let that dry, and then as my final little bit of embellishment, I wanted to add a bit of bling. Nothing too crazy though, because there's all the color going on and everything. So I pulled out the Studio Caudia April crystals, which are gorgeous. So gorgeous, because it's like a mixture of like clear and clear iridescent and the kind of white iridescent ones in a bunch of different sizes. So pulled those out, kind of sprinkled them rather liberally around both these card fronts, and then I'm just going to adhere those into place with my multi-medium matte adhesive, just picking up the jewels with a jewel picker, putting down a little bit of that multi-medium matte, and then pressing those into place and letting them dry. And that's going to finish off my cards. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll link to all the supplies used, the colors used, etc., etc. Everything will be listed and linked below the video as well as on my blog, so you can check that out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!